everyone, welcome to the Pole Strong podcast with me, your host Becky Dunn. Today I speak to the amazing Pamela McGhee, pole instructor and studio owner. She is an ex-gymnast and has a lot of knowledge in competing. She has competed in the likes of UK PCC and Southern Pole Championships. Pam, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. How long have you been polling for?
It's a little over 7 years now, so it'll be 8 years this October.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So a long time. And you have you co-own a studio, right?
Correct. We co-own 2 studios. We've got one in Solihull and we've got one over in Cradley Heath. So yes, we've got me and my business partner Kim.
That's like the most ideal situation.
Oh my god, it's heaven.
To have 2 of you too, and like to be able to have someone that you can trust and go into business with, and must be huge.
Did you know what? It was the story of me and Kim when we opened, we'd only known each other a week.
What?
We'd known each other a week. We love telling each other that story.
Story. A bit like, you know, when you can just connect with somebody, like, you know, when you just meet someone and you just vibe and you just know that like they should be a part of your life.
It was like that scene of the Step Brothers. So we went for dinner and she had a shark tattoo and I love sharks, and I was like, oh my god, do you love sharks? She's like, I love sharks. I was like, I also love sharks. And then we started talking about favorite TV programs, both the same. We're like, oh, did we just become best friends?
I love that. So how did you 2 meet then? Like, were you at a school? Like, who did you already have, like, how did that happen then?
No. So I'm originally from Worcester.
Yeah.
And I worked in Birmingham, and I travel into Birmingham to take pole classes. And I started attending lessons in Worcester with Imogen Gunterzak, who was my original pole instructor.
Was she? Okay.
Yeah, so, and I worked for Imogen for a little while, and Kim came in for a private lesson with Imogen. We literally said hi, had a chat about, I can't remember what it was, Birmingham, something to do, because she was from Birmingham. That was it. She added me on Facebook. One of those people that you add that you don't really interact with, but they're there in the background, like you're a post occasionally. And then she messaged me out of the blue, probably about 6 months later, just a random question about flexibility. And we started chatting. We went for tapas one night, and then we were like, do you want to open a studio? We're like, yeah, okay.
Oh my god. That is literally insane.
Yeah, it was very random.
So you got 2 now, which is really nice. I mean, your studio looks lovely. It looks super spacious and like really green, and the mirrors are beautiful. All the stuff that you need in a nice studio.
we kind of felt like we were on stage poles for so long.
Yes.
It was just so nice to be able to put in, like, when the truss went in, it was the best day. It was the best day.
Yeah, I bet. I went to a studio yesterday that had a truss, and I've never actually seen one in. I know what it is, and by that, like, I know, like, and I've seen them and stuff like that, but I've never actually seen them or worked on one.
Okay.
Like, so I didn't know like how the movement was, or like, you know, stability wise, and they're so stable. They're great, aren't they? And they're so adaptable as well. Like, you can extend up, outwards, all sorts. They're amazing. So before you started, did you have a sporting background at all then?
I did. So I actually did gymnastics from a very early age.
Okay.
Until I left gymnastics at the age of 18.
Okay.
I think maybe a bit younger than 18. I think I was maybe 17. It was around about the time I was at college.
Yeah.
And I'd injured my neck. Not like a bad injury, but just enough to be like, this isn't for me anymore. And I was reaching the age where I just wasn't interested.
Also, at that age, your lifestyle starts to change.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I feel like you're either really committed to it, or you're not.
Yeah, it's that, and we see it with the youth that come in and do pole. The youth that come in, like, there are different species these days.
They really are.
that come into our studio, usually around about the age of 15, it's beginning to be a bit like, oh, I don't really want to do this anymore. There's boys and there's shopping and there's, but I mean, I did gymnastics to quite a high level till I was, I made it to British Reserve Squad.
Wow.
So it was very intense from a young age. So like 5 or 6 times a week training 3 hours, like traveling we used to go to Lilleshall National Sports Centre every weekend, competing. It's a competition season. It takes a lot out of you at a young age. And it just got to the point where I didn't want to do it anymore. And one of the things that I took from that from a young age and adulthood, and I get this a lot with dancers that dance from a young age, is I'd apologize for stuff that I didn't need to, because it was so strict, the training, that if I did something wrong, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. That was my automatic response. I'm so sorry. It just wasn't fun for me anymore.
No, I know this was a very different story actually, but I don't know if you watched the Netflix documentary, what happened with the USA gymnastics team, and but take the reason why that was on, like not that, but actually how strict their training was, how regimented they had to be, how, like you said, like everything has to be perfect, and if it's not perfect, then go again. And like it's very. But then if you're competing to a high standard, then you can expect that. But I suppose it's like you say, it's the age, isn't it? You're so young, and that's all you know, and then that carries you through to adulthood. And like you say, you're in a situation where you're apologizing for stuff that you don't need to apologize for. But that does explain your style, I think, because we have very similar styles. I love watching people that are very similar to me, or naturally very strength based. Dynamic.
So I love you say strength based. I'd never view myself as strengthy.
What?
I wasn't. I was never, when I started pole, it was never strength. I was always, everyone was like, you're so bendy, you're so flexible.
You are so bendy too, yeah.
I'm actually really not anymore. So.
Wait, I have seen a couple of you've rocked a couple of injuries a couple of times, haven't you?
I've never actually had like a really big injury. I have things that my body does get angry with. So
yes,
the things that I think, again, it's this the thing from gymnastics. So in gymnastics, if you turned your ankle, it'd be like, strap it up, go again. And again, with any sport, I think stuff has progressed so much over the years that we now know about injuries, like, and how to deal with them better. But pole injuries wise, I mean, I've done my tendons in my elbow a couple of times because I am hypermobile through my elbows. I'm carrying quite a big injury at the moment. I've been carrying for about 18 months that I'm recovering at the moment. This is what I've seen on your
Instagram, like recently, that I saw that you were going to be in a comp back in Jan, right? You had to
dropped out.
Due to an injury, right? Or just your body, just your like you say, listening to your body and thinking, oh, my body isn't ready for this.
But I never saw myself as a strong pole dancer. It was the stuff I always really struggled with.
Really?
And I didn't enjoy it. I really, really struggled. I just trained flexibility. Like, I was obsessed with being flexible.
I wish I had that.
Sorry?
I wish I had that.
I don't anymore. But I was so obsessed. And then I went to Pole Expo in Las Vegas, and I was just remember I was in a Dmitry Politov workshop. And I was surrounded by these amazing people, and I never saw myself strong, because I never got like the proper beef, like the big like muscles, and I was like, I'm not strong, like I'm quite weedy sort of thing compared to these amazing people. And then I did Dimitri's workshop, and he did this planche lift, and I was like, I went straight up, but everyone else was, and he stopped and he said, you're a strong girl. And I was like, marry me. No. Obviously. I was like, he made my entire life. I was like, oh my God, Dimitri thinks I'm strong. So am I strong?
This is it. I'm going to be strong now.
So literally I was like, right, I need to train strong, because apparently I'm strong.
Which would have been super transferable from your gymnastics days.
I feel like I didn't really take much flexibility from gymnastics. My gym coach, I'm still friends with her to this day. I actually went and trained with her not long ago, and she got so cross. She was like, why the hell weren't you like this when you were my gymnast? And I was like, Sorry.
So what was your discipline in gymnastics then? What was your, do you specialize in any one, discipline?
I did, so back then it was called British Olympic Stars, so you did floor, vault, beam and bars. So I did.
Okay, cool. So a bit of everything.
Yeah, so I wasn't rhythmic. Like when you look back, like, God, why didn't I do rhythmic? I bet I would have
yeah. It's beautiful, isn't it? The rhythmic stuff, stunning. Yes.
I loved floor, so tumbles, and I love bars. So, and I think it really takes across for my style. So dynamics, the power, I love anything power, and grip switches and flips have never bothered me because I had to do that around the bar. So
that all falls under strength. So
yeah, I suppose I wasn't very flexible. But yeah, the strength, the dynamics, the power through my legs, that sort of thing. I think it was because I never really saw strength for me because of my arms are not the strongest. I feel like my posterior chain is pretty strong now. My anterior, so like my core, not that great.
Really? So do you reckon you compensate through? Like
I feel like my go-tos, I'll always. So I think a lot of things that where people come through, obviously, will go back to anything. So posture, for example, will determine a lot of what people are strong and weak at. So my posture for 32 years, I've got quite anterior tilt, so my pelvis. So front folding for me. So anything where I have to turn forward and turn the weight over my shoulders. So muscle ups, anything like that. It's literally not hard for me. Whereas anything, if you ask me to do a deadlift, that's a lot harder for me.
Right, really interesting.
Yeah. And my studio partner, Kim, is the exact opposite to me.
So you bounce off each other really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we do, yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. But like, so now, what would your preferred style of training be? Like, of all the stuff you take pole as a whole, and like, so for me, for example, I love doing the dynamic strength. I like to be able to just whack out something in 20 minutes and feel like I've achieved something, and I really enjoy that. So what would you say your fave style is at the moment?
At the moment, it's definitely dynamic strength.
Yeah. It just feels like it's really popular at the moment too. Like it's just really hot.
It's fun, and it is that thing, especially like just makes you feel like a little bit more of a badass. I feel.
Yeah, because you can whack out, like you're saying, like 10 minutes, you can whack out a couple of flips and it looks cool as fuck, and you're like, yes, I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling good.
Kind of gets your adrenaline up a little bit more. So
yeah,
I call them the spicy poles. That anything that makes me feel like, oh, could die, might not.
Yeah, well, your heart's like, I don't know if I'm gonna catch, but I did. that sort of feeling. 100%. I love it. So I take it do you do this full time, teaching?
I do, yeah.
Amazing. Cool. So what does your training structure look like?
Do you mean like my training sessions if I go in person?
So yeah, I'm like a bit of everything really. We can dive into it, but like when do you make time for you to train? How does your training structure work? Like, do you just fit in pockets of time where you can, or do you dedicate time each week? Like, well, how does that work for you?
So mine is very unstructured at the moment. It used to be very structured.
You say it needs to be structured or used to be structured?
It used to be very structured.
Used to be, right.
Since my injury is a really annoying one because I can have days where I have no pain. I can fold in half. I can do a rainbow Marchenko.
What is your injury? Jesus.
So yeah, I don't know if I actually, because I went and had an MRI. So about, I'm trying to think when it was. It was just after the lockdown. It was when we were just about allowed to go back into our studios, and I was training one day, and I'd noticed my back was getting stiff. So not pain, just like really taking a long time to warm up. And I was like, it's because I'm old. And then I was warming up and I was going for an extended Allegro, which again usually isn't a problem for me. And I remember I was like, God, I'm really struggling to reach behind and get my foot, let alone like take my top leg off. And I was getting really annoyed and frustrated with myself, and I pushed the leg straight, and the only way I can describe it was like an electric current going up my spine in pain. And I was like, oh my God, I thought I damaged my spine. I remember I got out and I was like, but then there was no pain. It was just that one very quick it was almost like a warning sign, like, do not do this. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then the next day I woke up and I was like, a bit stiff, but I'm okay. I sat on the sofa with my housemate and I went to get up and I was like, oh my God, I can't get up. My back's hurting. Like, I can't get up. And she had to like pull me up off the sofa.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And I've had QL injuries before from a lot of twist and extending overuse.
Yeah.
When I say like injuries, like just tiredness through the amount of flexible training I do. So I assumed it was that. And I stretched, I did lots, and I was like, no, something's not right. So I started going to see physios, osteos, chiropractors. I'd had shockwave. I've been to see a podiatrist over whether it was when I twisted my ankle.
Bloody hell.
And then in the end, I just thought, I'm just going to have an MRI. So I paid and went private for an MRI, and it's come back that I've got a grade 3 labral tear inside my hip, which is the lining in your hip that's tore. So like a grade 5 or something like that would be pretty much like surgery to replace the lining, so almost like a hip replacement.
Yeah.
So the grade 3, she said, like, looking at it, it's okay. She said it's not the tear that's causing me discomfort. It's certain days when I twist or extend or stretch, it catches the tissue and pulls on my back. So it's just very, it's the word I'm saying. It's just, it just restricts me. It's just very restrictive.
Do you know now which moves do that to you though?
So it's very dependent on how I feel that day. Certain things really annoy it. So anything where I extend and twist, so anything, so broken doll, for example, feels like it's going to kill me. Allegra, feels like my back's on fire. Rainbow match ankle is fine. Some days inside, Some days. But
I suppose with the rainbow, you're not, although you're arching.
Twisted. It's getting, as soon as I get my foot and I'm into it and I'm like, oh God, then I'm like, oh God, relief. Like when I'm in the full move, it feels great. When I'm not, it's like, because you're
like with Allegra, like you're bending around the pole, aren't you? So I can see the difference of like, even when you're, I mean, Allegra is a lot anyway, like so beautiful. It's such a beautiful move, but I don't think people realize until you start training it, like
it's definitely way more advanced than people give it credit for, that move.
100%.
So anything like that, it's restricted the mobility through my back, so my upper back doesn't open as much as it used to, so I have to be really careful with certain things like demo I'm not supposed to be doing. So for me before, like a resting split would be 4 blocks over split, and now it's resting split for me now is like, oh, it's just about comfortable going into a split, so I have to be really careful because my leg will go, but it's the damage it does afterwards on the tissue where the tear is. It's not worth it. So I have to just be very careful with certain things I train.
We're not actually designed to oversplit though.
No, we're not.
And then I think about this a lot. Like everybody, once you get your split, you're like, I want to get over splits, but we really shouldn't really be oversplitting. Like unless it comes quite naturally to you, like we shouldn't be aiming to get to an oversplit because of, like you say, that damage that it can. The pressure that it puts on your hamstrings and everything. Yes,
I feel like a lot of that with what I get from that, when people damage that quite a lot. I don't know, because you're an instructor as well. I kind of find, because I get a lot of people that come to me for privates for certain moves.
Same.
I'm a trickster, so everyone's like, so I want to get my rainbow, so I want to get my eagle, so I want to get bird of paradise, and I'm like, cool, but I'll always ask the opposite questions, like, what's your strength like? And a lot of the time I get people that, you know, they can fold in half and get into an eagle, but they can't shoulder mount or they can't hold an Aisha because they're not strong enough. And I'm like, you need to understand that you need to train that strength and stability through those joints to be able to hold those positions. And I think 100%. Rainbow is the one that shocks people the most, surprisingly, because the strength you need to hold that is insane. You can fold in half all you want, but if your joints and your muscles aren't stable, you're going to do yourself damage. And you only have one spine, you only have, you know, like, so like when you were saying that, then I was like, 100%, we're not designed to do that. So the most beneficial thing you can do for even starting that is make sure you're strong.
But some people naturally bend that way, and that's fine. Like we've got hypermobile people, really bendy people, but like I know myself, I will never get to a point where I'll be oversplitting. I think I've been on like one block comfortably, but other than that, more so for anything, because I've had hamstring tears before. I've torn my hamstring multiple times. If I get a hamstring injury now, it sets me back like 2-3 weeks. It's really bad. It's horrible. And then like even with your,
I can imagine, like, I've impinged my hamstring and that was worse. That was bad, so I can't imagine a tear. I'll be like, no.
yeah, exactly. And like you say, like I've had QL injuries. Well, I think it was my QL, and even when you injure your back, or actually more so with your hamstrings, people don't realize that when everything tightens, like it's not just your hamstring that tightens, it's everything that's attached to it. So your back tightens up, the whole thread. So yeah, you are right, but that is such an important message, by the way, what you were saying about being strong. Like, this is why I'm a big advocate of cross training. I train kettlebells because it's the most transferable way, or however you guys want to cross train. It is so important to strengthen your muscles. And unless you're training 3-4 times a week, which is realistic, isn't it? If you want to improve and get strong, you need to be training a lot, but a lot of people can't commit to that because, you know, just life. You need to be strengthening the muscles and stabilizing. Like, twisted grip for me, I mean, I've been doing twisted grip for years anyway, but twisted grip, I am so solid in my twisted grip because my shoulders are so strong, and you build up that stability, and that's everything, isn't it? And again, like you say, you can be flexible, but if you're not strong, you're just gonna, you know, I had a student once who had a ridiculously bendy back. You know, it's just those bitches that come in and they're just
I've got a new student that's like that right now. She went in something the other day and I was like, holy crap, your back is so bendy. She's like, oh yeah, it's like I don't have a spine. She just like dropped back and stuck her head on her butt, and I was like, I hate you.
You bitch. When we say this, we say it with love, don't we? Like,
we say it with love, because I'm literally like going, I can't wait until you're advanced, because I'm going to move precariously through you now, because my body doesn't like this shit anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I had a girl that was ridiculously bendy back, like you could just get her into anything, and it was amazing because we'd have these privates and she would be like, can I do this? And I'd be like, yeah, it's fine, we'll just get you in it. They'll just like bend you into it. But again, she didn't have the strength to be able to hold other moves, and but again, like people, you just learn that, don't you? You learn that through good instructors and stuff like that. But going back to your training instructor,
I told you I go off on a tangent.
No, I love it. This is what we do. So yeah, what
pre-injury
at the moment?
So pre-injury, I trained 3 times a week, and I'd have my flexi day, my strength and dynamics day, and then I have a day where I try new stuff. So when I try new stuff, I pick 1, maybe 2 moves, and I'll do it. So I'm a bugger for, I will not stop until I get that move, unless there's something physically or anatomically that is stopping me from doing that move.
Yeah.
I gave up on Saturday straddle a long time ago. That went in my fucking bucket. So, unless there is something anatomically stopping me doing that move, I will train until I do that move. I've got photos of me with when I was learning black sun split. I had blood coming down my stomach, and I was actually training with Cassie Portis, and she was like, oh, do you think that's a sign to stop? I was like, no, and now I do it on the other side. And she was like, Jesus Christ. Like, unless it's like not an injury, but I will train until I get that move. Like, I need to understand everything about that move, how to get into it, how to get out of it. I need to know.
Do you reckon that's back from your gymnastics days too?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. For me, if I'm determined to get something, I'm getting it. I don't care if it takes me a day or if I plug away at that move. Rainbow took me 3 years. I will get that damn move.
Yeah, although I do think as well, so you might agree with this, and again, your determination is admirable, but I trained a couple of weeks ago. There was this combo that I had I'd done like 2-3 years ago. This is the most like annoying thing ever. Like, at the moment, I'm really into going back to old combos, especially because I just, you know, when you go back and look at stuff that you've done and you're like, oh shit, that's really cool, or I would be 100 times better at that now, so let's go and try that again. So I'd done this really, really cool like handstandy combo, and I just couldn't get it. I could, well, it's not I couldn't get it, it was the twizzle, like it wasn't quite, the angle wasn't quite right, and I just kept going and going and going, and I did it all day. I had like 2 hours where I did it constantly, where so like if it doesn't look right, I'm like going again, and then I'd get another hour's break between a private, and I'm like, right, I'm going to try and get another video because I know I can do this better. And then like off the back of that though, my body was fucked. the next day, like, you know, like where you've just pushed your body, you know, when you get into that mindset where you're like, no, I'm not stopping until I get it. Like, I know I can get it. I'm going to get it. And I spent all day trying to get it. I still didn't get it, like to the standard that I wanted it.
Yeah.
And then my body the next day, and even that night, I was wiped out.
Yeah.
You do use so much energy, don't you? And it's like, like when I was like knackered that night, and I was thinking, like, was that really worth it? Like, did I really have to train that like all day to get nothing? And now I feel like shit. You know, so sometimes do you not feel like that when you keep going?
Anyway.
What's that?
Yeah, I said that's the way that training goes anyway, isn't it? I think that's quite a thing that it's nice for people to see that, because the world of Instagram can be so false sometimes, and it's so easy to fall into that mind trap of like, oh my god, they just did that first go. Like, no, you didn't see the 4,000 attempts of trying to do it.
No, I do put a lot of my progress up now, actually. I like it. I like watching my fails. I think it's good. I think it's good to share.
I must admit, like, because I'm so methodical with the way I train, as in I'm very kinesthetic, so I need to know how something feels at every stage before I do it.
Okay.
So I break everything right down, and then I'm like, okay, she takes this hand. Oh, no, doesn't do that, because that's spicy, sort of thing. And I think I've avoided, so although I've picked up small injuries, I've never had falls or like proper, I think I've had one proper fall, and that was when I started pole. Dan Rosen always pesters me for pole fails, for pole holes, and I was like, I literally don't have any. I'm really sorry. I'm really boring. Sorry, I don't have any for you. But yeah, I when I do structure that into my training with fails and things like that as well, I always study the video back. Try and
always. What's gone wrong?
As well. That's that. But yeah, it used to be very, very structured. It's not structured so much my training now, and a lot of the reason of that is because, one, it's taken back from the gymnastics, as I had a very structured sort of routine from a young age, so I don't enjoy that anymore. I just like to go in on the day and see how I fit, one, how my body's feeling because of my injury, and two, just how I'm feeling in general. I have days where I just want to whack the pole on spin and do pretty shapes and pretty spins. I have days where I'm like, I feel like, right, determined, it's pissed me off, I can't do this move for so long, I'm going to give it a good go. It genuinely just depends on how I'm feeling, my mindset that day, and how my body's reacting to how.
Yeah, when I did a podcast with Britt Bloom, she said it's not, when we were talking about the same, she was like, it's not up to me how I'm going to train. It's up to my body. Yeah. You know, it's not, you know, you could wake up and be like, I'm going to train flexibility today, get to the studio, and if your body isn't feeling it, you know what it's like when you try to split or back bend and you're like, nah, it ain't happening today.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very, very much dependent on how you're feeling, everything. So yeah, that's really interesting. I don't really have much of a structure.
No, I do admire people that are so structured. One of the girls I teach for competitions, I've never met someone so regimented with their training, but she's good with it. Like, she'll train 3 privates a week. She'll do her comp run throughs, and she'll go home and she'll do deload. So she'll do prehab and rehab. She will go for a run to keep her cardio up. Certain days, Fridays are for stretching. I'm like, oh my God, like, I genuinely think, I'm not going to lie, that probably make me really miserable, feeling so structured with it, because it started as a hobby and it became a job, and I want to keep that side of things to where I'm like, I still really enjoy this for me.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But I do think it's different if you are, like, if you've got nothing else going on, like, there's so much more to this world in, like, pole than meets the eye.
Pretty much, there's so much more to life than pole. I was like, oh my God, you're going to lose followers.
No, babes, no. There's so much more to it for you guys, and like for studio owners. It's not just, you know, you have to keep that love of it, because there's so much more to it. It's not just like how it was a hobby. Like, for that student of yours who has probably got that one goal, or she's competing, like if you were competing and you had nothing else going on, like, didn't need to worry about your studio, didn't need to worry about class planning, you didn't need to worry about doing private lessons and all everything that comes along with it, which is amazing, by the way. For us, we still love it, but if you didn't have that, then you would be able to be a bit more structured. It's easy for, you know, if you were just training for you, and you had your goal of the competition, you would be able to fit in, you know, you're stretching, you're running. But that's also a big thing, isn't it, for instructors and stuff. Like, there's so much more going on than just it's lovely when you can get in time for you and to train, but you're thinking about other people 90% of the time.
Yeah, my training a lot as well. If it's a super hard combo, then I'm like, right, how can I adapt this so I can teach elements of this week, and how can I it's constantly that as well in the back of my mind of like,
exactly,
I can't be selfish with my time and bend myself in half constantly because I don't have flexible students, so I need to train stuff that is going to be.
And also, like, again, if you have a pocket of time and you burn all your energy out and you know that you're teaching, like, I want to keep myself on top form. People are paying good money to come and spend an hour with you. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, I can't really demo this because I'm injured, or I haven't really got the energy to do this, and if I haven't got the energy, it's going to be half-hearted. There's so much more for us to think about. So but it's admirable to watch people that are really structured, isn't it? Like, if we all would if we could. It's just we have 100 things going on. So how do you look after your body in terms of nutrition? I say diet, by the way, but I don't mean diet as in like a regimented diet.
I'm just saying, I was absolutely dreading this question because my diet is shocking.
You know what, babes, you should have just messaged me back and said, can we take this out?
Sorry. I'm joking. So again, at the same time, I do think it's nice to hear that, because I do think there are so many people out there, and fair play to you, like the people that are like, well, I eat super healthy, I cut out carbs, I do this. I'm like, I don't deny myself anything.
And this is great, and this is what this is all about, by the way. Like, it's not about you coming on and saying, I eat this many calories a day, I hit this many macros, this is what I have, I eat X, Y, Z, I eat really clean. Just being honest.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
I was like, oh, people aren't going to want to know about my diet. So I don't deny myself anything. It's moderation. I'm very lucky that I don't have a sweet tooth.
Okay.
So
bonus.
You're never going to find, well, it's very rare that I'll be eating puddings and things like that, or I don't snack as in like crisps and chocolate. I've got a very savoury tooth, but I eat what I want, when I want. If I'm hungry, I'm going to eat.
Yeah. How tall are you?
So I'm 5'7".
5'7", cool. I thought you were quite tall.
Yeah, I'm 5'7". I have got a very so everyone laughs about it. You see it in my stories quite a bit. So when I joke about having a Coke addiction, like I'm addicted to Coca-Cola.
Okay, right. I'm just going to clarify that now.
I drink like 1.5 litres of Coca-Cola a day.
Stop it.
I know, it's so bad. It's so bad. I used to run pubs years ago, so this is what like started it, and I would work from 6 in the morning till 3 in the morning. So to kill my hunger and give me energy, I drink Coca-Cola. And
nothing beats a crisp cold Coca, does it?
I don't even like the taste of it. I'm just like, I feel like I need it. I get a headache if I don't have it.
Right, okay, so Pam, this is an addiction.
I know. I'm fully aware of this. And the amount of people have been like, that's not good. I'm like, I'm well aware it's not good for me. But
I'm running on it.
I feel like I eat fairly healthily. When I say like I don't deny myself anything, I don't feel great if I eat lots of like fried food. I don't eat pizza or fried food or anything like that.
You feel crap, don't you? You feel shit. I feel
awful. I can't train on it. I went to America for 2 weeks, and sorry for American viewers, I don't care how they say like, oh, nice fresh food. I'm like, it's not compared to like England's fresh veg and steam. Like, you know, for me, I do eat healthy. I do eat fresh. I cook quite a lot. I went vegetarian for like 10 months last year.
Okay. Did you see a change in your physique?
So not so much in my physique. My energy levels were a lot higher. I must admit, that is the one thing I do struggle with, is my energy levels. And I do know that if I structured my diet better, it'd probably be better.
100%.
But I really enjoy food, and I don't like denying myself anything.
Do you take many supplements?
I do. I take vitamin B12. I take what else do I take? I take vitamin C, and I have B12 injections as well.
Yeah, I've had a B12 injection. Do you have them regularly? Do you have them every 3 months?
So first one I've had, it was 2 weeks set. So I had that 2 weeks, and then it's once every 6 weeks, I think it is.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I only just started about 3 months ago.
And differences?
And yeah, I have noticed a difference. It's actually the thing I've noticed first is that I'm sleeping better. So I'm getting more natural sleep on my own anyway with that.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I have noticed it. Yeah, I've noticed it with that. I've been having them longer because I had them right before I started UK PPC training. So just to give me a boost. So yeah, I do find that my diet is fairly healthy. Like I would never go out and I don't eat fast food. So I don't eat very rarely I'll have a McDonald's.
Yeah,
but
same.
It doesn't, the thought of like a McDonald's, I'm like, oh no,
yeah, I'm exactly the same. Yeah, it's just a bit eek.
Yeah.
What's it I can say?
No. So
yeah.
So I do eat well, but I don't structure like what I eat essentially.
Yeah.
I don't meal prep, I just like whatever I fancy.
Yeah.
And at weekends,
enough.
I'll have a few drinks at the weekend. But yeah, I don't really deny myself anything. But yeah, supplements, I do take some supplements. Yeah.
That's good. It's important. And do you focus on are you quite big on your macronutrients? Do you focus on your protein intake, or are you just no? I
don't know. And I know how the amount of people that are just like, if you just did this, and I'm like, oh, I know, but again, it's that I always feel like,
but if you're happy with what you've got going on,
joy I get from there's nothing more I enjoy than going out and trying a really nice restaurant, or being like, oh, I'm gonna go home and cook this nice Thai curry tonight, and I don't process what's going into that or how many of my 5 a day I'm getting, or I just, as long as I'm healthy and I'm happy, then
that's a really big thing. You can't want to be restricted or just feel like you can't enjoy the simple things. But if you actually get enjoyment out of cooking, going to restaurants and stuff, if that's something that you enjoy, then that is totally understandable.
And I've definitely noticed over the last 2 to 3 years though that I keep saying age is catching up that when I went past my mid-30s, that was I put on weight easier now. And
yeah, my husband's been saying this to me.
Fluffiness.
Well, you don't look it, by the way, but my husband was saying the same to me. He was like, you're getting older, and it's going to come a point where your metabolism is going to start to slow down, and because when you've been in this for a long time, for me, I don't really fluctuate too much with my body fat now. I stay consistent all year round. And I think that's a genetics thing more than anything else, if I'm being honest, because it's not natural really to be like that all year round, but I am. And if I need to pull it back, I can do quite quickly. I can pull it back within a week. My husband keeps saying to me, I'm 28 next week, and he's like, it's going to start slowing down, and you will start to notice differences, and you're going to pick up more, you have to be careful more of your body because of how more injury prone you are when you get older too. And
100%. Do you know what, it's not even so much the injury prone, it's the recovery time.
Yes.
And I noticed, because I actually started pole, like I said, when I was 30. So
wow, did you look so young, by the way, too? You do not look
Botox.
I'm all for it, babes. I'm all for it. It's essential nowadays.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if you disagree, but
I definitely noticed the first 2 years, and it sounds really bad, but almost cocky, I can bend myself in half and I feel fine the next day. I can do this and I feel fine. And then slowly I was like, okay, I did that 4 days ago, what the hell's going on?
I still can't walk.
Yeah Literally, I make the noise that noise when you get up now to alert people around you that you're standing up. Oh, Pam, grandma's getting up, and I'll be like, oh, as I'm standing up now. Or when you're lying down as well, I question heartburn. I'm like, is this it?
Am I on my way out?
Is it finally happening? No, it's heartburn. Oh yes, we had a glass of wine last night.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, when I've been really more cautious. I think you have to learn from injuries, by the way. You should be aware and more and try to prevent injuries as best you can from cross training, stretching. I think regular massages are absolutely crucial if you are working out a lot. It's so important, but you do learn from those injuries. For example, I pulled my glutes so badly in like the second lockdown. Like, honestly, I was in all sorts of trouble. Like my husband he had recently pulled or had like something to do with his like sciatica and was given a rehab program to strengthen his glutes, and I followed his rehab program and I was out for 6 weeks. It was really, really bad, and luckily we were in lockdown, so it's fine. But now I'm really cautious of that. Like I couldn't move. I couldn't, like, even bending to brush my teeth was agony. Like I was doing squats for rehab and I could only go as far down as like the arm of the sofa. Like that was my mobility. That was it. And again, you learn from that, because you never ever want to be in that situation where
you say that, but do you also feel as though, do you get that with your students as well, where like it's almost like, do you know when you have a cold and you forget what it's like to breathe because you do it every day?
Yeah, I take that for granted so much. I'm like, am I ever going to be able to breathe again?
Oh my God, I'm never taking this for granted again. Yeah. And then, and I feel like it's the same with people with like certain things with injuries as well. I feel like unless you've had a bad injury, it's almost like it is literally your brain's coping mechanism anyway. You almost have that trauma thing where you forget what that's like. It's like your brain blocks that out. So if you've got a full-on debilitating injury, so like first thing is like, oh crap, this isn't right, and then it's like, okay, is this it now?
Yeah. So am I ever going to recover?
Yeah, and trying to explain that to people, this is why we don't do this, because you don't want this. You can say it all you want. Like the common one is people that don't train both sides. And like trying to explain to them, like, you do not want compensation injuries because they suck. They are so painful and they take time to correct. Yeah. And I think people think of an injury as a broken bone and I'm like, you know what? I know this sounds really bad. I'd take a broken leg any day over this psoas and hip injury, because
oh my God, yeah,
bones heal. Like you twist an ankle and you're never going to fully get that strength back in the ankle. So being careful and like trying to explain that to people is so hard.
Yeah, I know that this is the same in my right hamstring, and even with my left. This is why splitting is quite difficult for me, because I can feel it still. Like my hamstrings are like, when I go into a split, it's almost like something in my brain's going, ooh, be careful. I know what you're doing. My right hamstring is like, when I pulled that, it was horrendous, and like it's just not worth it either. Like I remember I went into a flat split on my right side in lockdown, and I was in my garden and I was like, yes, like in like on the floor, like yes, and then my hamstring just went ping, and it was, and I felt it ping, and it was horrendous. And I was with my I did a story on this the other day actually, when I went, because I work 4 days a week in corporate, and I was so used to wearing heels, and obviously then we had lockdown and stuff, and I went back into the office, wore heels for 2 days, and the damage it did to my calves and my hamstrings were tight for 3 weeks afterwards, like stretching them, like and again it's just being aware of like the implications of certain stuff and the injuries that could happen, and not pushing yourself.
Yeah, my favorite saying to people, like my students especially, is just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. Yes. I learned the hard way. The only other really bad injury I've had was I tore the tendon in my elbow, and it was when I thought I was strong. I wasn't strong. I did an INX. I've got it on video. I've got it snapping on video.
Oh my God. I can imagine how that must feel, by the way. It makes me very queasy.
Video. Actually, it didn't hurt. I did it and I saw it go, and you see my arm literally go the opposite way, and I get down and I'm just like, and carried on. I was doing deadlifts on it for 4 hours. I woke up the next day with an arm like a sausage roll. And that's when I was like, ooh. And trying to explain to people that just because you can do a twisted grip doesn't mean necessarily you're strong enough to hold yourself in that position.
100%.
Everything's at its max sort of capacity, and if you've not got the strength and stability to hold that, you're going to damage something. Doesn't mean you're going to damage your shoulders. You could damage something else. So
I did it with my wrist. I did it with my wrist. So this is why I think it's so important, by the way, to video yourself. You were saying about like with your students and there was something earlier you said and it made me think, like, when I'm doing private, and even with myself, I get my students to video everything. Like if I'm teaching, if they come to me to do flips or something like that, like especially very dynamic stuff, like it was when you were saying you analyze videos.
Yes.
Yeah, so I always video everything I do anyway, and I analyze, like you say, I almost do like a pre-run through. I try and get it perfect. And then like I watch back and I'm like, right, I know I could tidy that up a little bit. And I do the same with my students. I get them to video everything so that we can watch it back, because even as an instructor, you can't, especially if it's like fast, like something like a flip or something like that, like you can't watch every aspect of their body. And it's really good as well for them to physically watch it and say, this is where you're going wrong. Like I can tell you what you're doing, but sometimes it doesn't quite go in. Like you need to see it.
Yeah.
And I damaged my wrist back in November. It's actually pretty good now. It's actually fine. It's taken about 3 months to recover, which is a long time. And I did a pendulum, and the pole was so grippy. We had a student that, do you come in and use like some form of gorilla grip on the pole? I don't know, it might have been worse. It might have been, I don't know if it was gorilla grip, it was something. And honestly, Pam, the pole was unusable. It was cleaned 10 times plus with vodka, everything, to get the shit off the pole. But in the same breath, the pole was so grippy. Like I was like, there's a part of me that was like, I shouldn't train on this. But I was like, this is so grippy that this is like so perfect and ideal. So anyway, I did a pendulum, and again I had it on video, and I swung out, and then when you come back in and then go up, because the pole was so grippy, my wrist didn't rotate, it didn't move with me. So then as I swung in, it then had no choice, and it jolts, and you can see it in the video. You can see where my wrist is, like it's such a sharp movement. And again, like stupidly, I knew I shouldn't have trained on that pole. I knew I should have cleaned it down, but I was like, oh, this is so grippy. I'm going to use this to my advantage. And again, just watching it, and it's like, oh God, that was awful. But anyway, so your rest and downtime, what does that look like for you?
So I the amount of people that say that they have like a rest day or 2 rest days, but I have like deload weeks where I do nothing. So once a month I will still teach, and I'll teach privates that are anatomical. So I'll tell them, I will show you videos, I will spot you, I will guide you for everything you're doing in video, but I'm not going on the pole. My body needs that once a week, not once a week, a week every now and then, to just be like, I'm deloading. The only classes I will teach where I'm demoing are my usual classes where it's like, but privates, I will not train, I'll have a week off. The downtime, rest time, I literally I joined a gym that's got a spa, so I'll go and lie in the sauna for an hour, jacuzzi. For me, that's what I need. I like to rest my body. I eat good food, just chill, watch Netflix. I am quite an active person, but I've got more like of an active mind. So I need projects to keep me busy.
Yeah.
But that is relaxing to me, rather than, for example, my idea of hell, I'm not going to lie, is going for runs, like running, anything like that.
Same.
Like, absolutely not.
I am not.
My student's doing the New York marathon coming up. Yeah, I think it's like this week or next week. Or the half marathon. She's off to do that like next weekend. And genuinely, I was like, you don't have to do that. you don't have to.
Some people just love it though, don't they? Like that.
Yeah,
I suppose it's the same way that we love pole. Yeah.
So I like going out and exploring. So I do like going for hikes and things like that. Just spending time with friends, going out for food and drinks. Yeah, nothing. So
just making time for quality time.
Yeah, I'm actually just like really boring. I'm so introverted as well. So
no, I think that's really good. I think that's a really good message. It's interesting. We were having this conversation. I was having it with Vanessa Bagg and a couple of other people this week, actually, talking about private lessons and teaching in privates, that you don't have to get on the pole all the time. You can talk somebody through, especially your more advanced students, you can talk through your move and be a bit more savvy with your teaching? Like, there was a period of time, it's not as much anymore because I have really stopped and tried to be really strict on it, but there was a period of time where people were coming to me because they wanted to do doubles with me in their private lessons, which I was like, yeah, of course, because a part of me was like, well, it's good content too for me to get like pole flows, and like I loved it.
Yeah.
But then going home and I was absolutely knackered and being like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep training with my students in their privates. Like, this is, we need, you know, this isn't sustainable.
My students for the last year have just been so understanding as well, because I would have days where I couldn't even do an inside leg hang.
Wow.
So they've been really good, but it's actually taught me that I don't need to demo all this stuff. If they really struggle to get it, I mean, then yes, I will. But the people that I get coming to me for privates in person always want specifics, and it's never like, I'm like, do you just want to learn a chair spin? We like chair spins. And they're like, no, I want to do upright bird of paradise, into an eagle and into it. And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
I had days where my body's just like, it is not doing that today. Like Rainbow Marchenko, like I feel like these days I need like 3 hours to recover, and I don't have the time to do that. So
this is it, isn't it? It's being savvy
anymore.
Yeah, this being savvy with your time too. Like it's not worth the risk, is it, for you? Like you have to get that balance of, this is my job, I have to teach and stuff like that, and then doing things for you which is going to potentially impact that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with your advanced students, especially students that are doing stuff like that, like you can absolutely talk them through where they need to go.
Yeah.
You don't always need to be demoing as much as maybe you think you do. But well, that's interesting, because that's a nice way of, I think that's a really nice balance of your downtime, making time for what you love to do and what you enjoy to do. And the deload week is, you know, do you do that at like the end of every month? Do you do that like a certain amount of time apart, like every 4 weeks? Or you just do it when you feel it?
The week before the last week of the month. My last week of the month, I guarantee I have a major private day where I'll teach 9 hours back to back in Cambridge. So so I'll have a deload week before. Sorry, looks like I'm like really playing myself. I'm sat in my back.
That's fine.
I took it from, so if you think of people that do powerlifters, when they're competing at a high level, they have to have deload weeks where they do nothing, but then they'll do their diet with that. If you think of what we're lifting on a daily basis, whether it's you training or you spotting and you're constantly lifting heavier weights, your body literally needs that time to recover. And a day, maybe 2 days, doesn't always do it, especially if you've got DOMs.
Nothing worse than DOMs and knowing that you have to go again. I've got them
really badly right now. I'm sat here and my quads are on fire.
Oh, no way. Oh, bless you. What did you do?
I was Pilates last night, funnily enough. I've done Pilates the last 3 days, and she's focused on legs and glutes the last 3 days. So now they're just really angry.
On fire. Pilates are amazing for us. So that actually leads me nicely into my next question. Do you do much for your, do you do much cross training and for your strength and conditioning? Like, what do you do?
So I'll train gymnastics elements off the pole. So I still train handstands. I'll still go to gymnastics every now and then just to keep up with tumbling, bars, keep on top of that. But I swim, so I do a lot of swimming.
Do you know what swimming I really struggle with? It's the one thing. I can enjoy any sport. Swimming, I'm terrible at. I'm so bad at swimming. Okay. Like I probably.
My mum always said I was a bit of a water baby. I love being in water. I love being. So yeah, like I quite enjoy swimming.
Swimming is amazing for like an all for your cardiovascular health too, but just an all over workout really, but not too. It's strenuous. You always get out feeling starving, don't you, after a swim?
Yes. But it just makes you feel like I feel like I've earned. I can eat everything in my fridge this evening.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, maybe I need to try again. Do you know what I think it is? This is going to sound really silly. I don't think I've never been taught how to swim properly. So wait, I can swim. By the way, I can swim. It's the breathing. This is me. I am like that in the pool on holiday. That is my. No one can see this, can they? But I'm flapping like little doggy. Doggy paddle is my go-to always. It's the breathing. So like three lengths for me on a pool, and I'm done.
Okay.
I'm so
I've had to build it back up. I've had to build it back up since COVID, but yeah, no, I enjoy swimming. I've got some
really, really good
waterproof headphones, and I just put my phone on side, listen to my music, and I'm done for a few hours. I feel like I kind of felt like it was my physio that suggested I started swimming as well. She's like, oh, you need to get some weightless movement through your hips. It's not, up the pole, like using your strength. And I was like, you're literally sending me to like aqua therapy like an injured dog. I was like, that's all that I had in my mind. I was like, don't they do like water therapy for dogs when they're injured and they're on the treadmill? She's like, but not on the treadmill, just go swimming. I was like, okay. I remember getting to the pool and I was like, do I just swim?
Yeah.
Like, what else do I do?
Have you found it beneficial?
Yes, I have. I definitely have. Yeah.
Well, it's like resistance, isn't it? But not. It's resistance, but not like you're not adding weight for it, are you? It's natural resistance.
Yeah, it just makes my back feel looser when I've done it.
Really?
So I do quite enjoy it. Yeah, it does, because I'm working the muscle that I need to, because like it's like active for me, like active recovery, because like if I'm injured, I can't sit around and do nothing, but I need to put some movement through it. Yeah. Walking aggravates, I get really bad sciatica if I go on long walks, whereas because it's weightless and I'm still using the joints and the muscles, it loosens off my back a little bit. So yeah, I've had a lot of benefits from that. I've recently taken up Pilates. I'm trying that. I'm on 3 days a week at the moment. The goal is to get to an hour every day. I need to start switching on the muscles that started switching off when the injury occurred, because so we're still trying to find out how exactly the labral tear happened, because I've never had anything where I've injured it and went, what was that? She said the bolt of pain would have been nervy through my back when I was doing an Allegra, and that's it telling me that something's annoyed in my back. But it's because I tore it and then all the muscles switched off and then the other muscles started compensating. It's a whole chain, isn't it? The human body.
Do you? Yeah. Who would think that the body is?
I don't. If I had to do one thing, if I was God, I'd invent human again, but just better function.
Yeah. This is the same with me. I need to train my glutes. I need not do to get an aesthetically nice bum. I just need to I need to strengthen my glutes, because they don't activate, which is how I got the injury in the first place. And it links in, like you say, with the posterior chain. You have to strengthen your posterior chain, because it's all that movement, isn't it? Getting your hips up. Like near enough everything that we do is all about getting those hips up, driving power up, and that requires a strong posterior chain. And if you don't have a strong posterior chain, your body is going to compensate either through your lower back or through something else, and that is where the injuries occur.
Pilates is supposed to take everything.
Your hip flexor took everything.
Yeah, so that's why my hips are actually pretty strong, so I can lift my leg freestanding quite high, but it's overloaded it. So I told everyone this recently. So when I went to the physio, she said something to me and I can't unsee it now. So I was laying on the bed. She was like, she's like, your right bum cheek is a lot smaller than your left. And I was like, what? It's like, think of it like a bra size smaller. And I was like, oh my God, I've got a B cup and a D cup on my butt. And ever since I can't stop looking at my arse. And it's because my left fires up really quick. It's like, yep, we got this. Because that's my
interesting
leg. So rolling up for a muscle up, I can really feel it all through my left side of my glute, because it's really active and my hips taking over. My right side's just chilling, like.
Yeah, left, you do all the work.
Yeah, like woo. So I couldn't squeeze my right bum cheek. She was like, squeeze. And I was like, I am. She's like, you're not. And I was like, oh my God. Whereas my left's like.
Yeah, glute activation is so important.
Yes, so important. But like, I genuinely thought my glutes worked. I was like, I've got really strong glutes. I was like, oh shit, no, I haven't. I've just got Hulk Hogan for my left butt cheek. Yeah, your left side is
loving life, strong as fuck, and your right is like, I'm not having any of it.
Just chilling.
Yeah.
So I started doing Pilates for glute activation, and it's definitely working, because yesterday I went to Pilates and I kind of like hobbled in like, oh my God, please be nice to my butt today.
Yeah. I have done one Pilates class, but I think I'm gonna, my physio that I went, or that I've changed physios quite a lot, because he's finding a good, it's not actually not a good one, I've said this before, it's actually just finding the right one for you. One of my physios, he said to me, you need to be doing Pilates. That was like his big thing, like you need to be doing Pilates, like that is absolutely sort of, is so beneficial for you and what you do, like that's going to really help you. And I can see why when I did a little Pilates. I did just something on YouTube actually, and just watching how they warm up, or maybe not even warm up actually, just how they actually just get, well, I suppose it is warming up, how they like start to activate is the right word, how they activate everything. And I was like, oh, this is really good, like how they really, like, even when you're laying on your side and doing like leg raises and then doing it, like taking it to the side and then to the other side, and like doing that like 20 times.
It's definitely shown me where I'm not stable where I thought I was.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely showing up some areas of weakness that I'm like, okay, this is something I wouldn't have really thought about before. So I've had so many suggestions. The biggest one that was suggested to me was like, you need to go and lift weights. I literally can't think of anything worse. I'm so sorry. It's not for me. It's not fun. It's not for me. I tried and I was like, no. Like, my business partner's the exact opposite. So do you remember we had like that snow last year? And it was lockdown, so the gyms were closed, but they were open outdoors.
Yeah.
And she messaged me and she was like, oh, what are you up to? And I was like, I'm sat eating cheesecake, watching Netflix. And she was like, I'm at the gym. And I was like, aren't the gyms closed? She's like, yeah. And then she was doing this like kettlebell workout in the snow where they'd pick up a kettlebell down, run across the rugby field to the next. I was like, dude, there's snow. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, get inside.
Like, absolutely not.
I feel like you either have a real love for it or you don't know. Personally, I think, like I've said a lot, like you should view it, you shouldn't view it as a chore. You really need to change your mindset of like, you're going to lift weight to improve the thing that you love the most. But if it's you either enjoy it or you don't, but it is you are right, it is really beneficial. It would be so beneficial for you if you did, but if you don't enjoy it, then the sofa's more your body, it's fine.
I tried yoga as well. Someone said, so another thing that I struggle with is switching off my asympathetic nervous system, because my muscles are always like ready to go. Like I'll go and have my nails and she's like, relax your hands, and I'm like, solid, and she's like, not. So but when the physio, because I've recently changed physio as well, I've seen a lot of physios. The physio before, he was very good, but he would say, oh yeah, your mobility range is great. And I'm like, but not for me. Like, I understand that it's really good, but I'm telling you it's restrictive of what I do and it's getting me down. So this one suggested Pilates. And in my head, Pilates is the same as yoga at this point. And I remember I was so bored in yoga, I fell asleep.
I've always struggled with yoga. I've always struggled with it.
I think that's great for people. And I think great, like if you're quite a calm, relaxed person anyway, not that I'm not calm. My brain's always active. So I'm too active and in my head to focus on what I'm doing in yoga. So in my head, I was like, Pilates is the same. But then I actually watched a podcast with Bendy Kate. Bendy Kate is like my absolute discipline goal. Like, I would love to be that disciplined. I've never met someone so structured in their lifestyle, their training, their prehab and rehab as Bendy Kate. I went to see her for physio a few times, and I've had a private with her, and just to watch how she trains, how her lifestyle is, I'm like, that is why you are the way you are. And I so wish my brain could be that way, but like, I just can't. It's not for me. But when she said, Pilates, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll give that a go, because I know Bendy Kate does Pilates every single day without fail. And
does she?
I can understand the benefits to it. Like, it is good. It's a good workout, and it's harder than I thought it was going to be. I really took my instructor with me the day before yesterday, and she's like, is it easy? I was like, it's not too bad. And she just looked over at me halfway through the class and just went, oh my God, my abs. And I was like,
yeah, because I feel like you get real body awareness from it.
100%, yeah.
too, because you have to use the muscles that are activating. You can't really, you can't cheat, can you? You really have to switch on and activate the muscles that are being used.
Yeah.
So I think that's excellent. And again, it everything translates to pole, because you can then say, well, this is the muscles that you should feel and be activated. And also when you're teaching students, you can then, like, if they need to warm up their core or their shoulders or their legs, like, you're going to be able to take these moves and translate them to get them warm.
Yeah.
So last thing I want to finish on is your new comp. I thought this was a good thing to talk about.
Yes.
So talk about it. What inspired you to start it? Give us a little bit of info.
I've competed now 6 years. I've competed, and the one that I've recently just dropped out of was the decider of me, like, it's not for me anymore. My body is not doing it. That
must have been a really difficult decision, by the way. Really quick side note, that must have been really difficult.
The dropping out or deciding no longer competing?
Both.
So I think the no longer competing one's been coming for a while. I did UK PPC back in November just because I did it 3 years ago on an injury. That's when I'd impinged my hamstring. I'd got the injury like 3 days before, and I came third in instructor category, but I was so mad at myself because I was like, I could do better than that. Like, if I wasn't injured, I could do better.
You almost want to go on stage, don't you, and say, I'm injured, by the way, just to let you all know.
Almost like, be kind. But
yeah.
Almost like, yeah, to an extent, yeah. But so that was always my goal, to do that competition one more time to see if I could do better.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have entered in November. I was still very injured. Sorry, hiccups.
Sorry.
And so I was still very injured. And then I was like, well, my student had entered, and I was like, I'll enter with you. And I was like, I'll just do it for a bit of fun. And when I got through, I was like, crap, I'd better do it now, hadn't I? And then
you committed.
Yeah. And then it just got to the point where actually I don't get any enjoyment from. I love being on stage. I'm a bit of a show pony. I'm a bit like, yes, I like playing a character and showing you like what I can do. But again, it's a snapshot, because I actually don't do well when I'm on stage.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't feel like what I put out on stage is reflective of what I'm actually capable of.
Okay.
That makes sense. Whereas, like, I had like a really interesting conversation with Dan Rosen about this, and Dan was like, oh, I do really well in comps. And I'm like, I don't. I get inside my head. I beat myself up. I always pick combos that I try and challenge myself, because that's the whole reason I enter a comp. I never enter with the mindset of I'm entering to win. I've never really had that. I think because I had it, I was very competitive when I was a gymnast. If I was going to that comp, I was winning.
Yeah, which I think is a great mindset, by the way.
It was, and I think I just took myself so far away from that I didn't want it badly enough. So I'd see people being like, putting statuses up, being like, oh my god, it's 6 weeks out, I've cut out burgers and I've cut out this, and I'd be sat there eating a burger and being like, am I meant to be cutting stuff out? Like, I don't want to go and kill myself at the studio for 3 hours a day, sort of thing. I took UK PPC, and probably my last comp I did before lockdown, Scotland, I took them fairly seriously. I trained like, for UK PPC, I would do 8 run-throughs, probably like 2 or 3 times a week. UK PPC just gone, I trained once a week for it, because I couldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just got to the point where I'm like, my body isn't recovering from it as well. It's stressing me out, and I'm not enjoying the actual training
of it.
Yeah. So I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I get more joy out of training other people for it, and people who are far more creative. Plus, oh my god, the standard has gone up so high these days in competitions. I went to watch pole art, and I was just sat there with my jaw in my lap for half it, being like, this is semi-pro, like, the hell. So, but it was that. It was when I went to watch pole art, and the semi-pro category and the pro category, and I watched them, and I thought, these are the categories that like my instructors would have to enter, or my studio partner who have never competed, have no experience of competing, and they'd be against each other. And I've got instructors that can't invert, who mainly teach base work or teach heels, And then I've got, you know, Kim, who's very similar level to me. And I was like, there's no, although Pole Theatre have recently brought out New Face, I still feel like there was no structure for, like, if you are truly a beginner but you teach, there's nowhere for you to go with that. And
You're
I was
totally
kind of
right.
sick of, people coming on to wanting to be instructors, and my first question being, do you want to compete at any point? Because you may have to sacrifice that unless you get, like, really good.
You know what? Actually, this is where, when I actually think about it, because I've never competed ever, and you are totally right. I knew that when I started teaching in 2017, I knew at that point I was never going to be able to compete because I wasn't good enough at that point in time. I wasn't, and so I knew. And those people, everyone I like do pods with, they always say to me, "Have you competed?" And I'm like, I think people expect that I compete. And I'm at a point now where I think I probably should compete. I probably should just, yeah, I probably should. And my husband says to me all the time, like, "Babe, you need to compete now. Like, you just, just go and try it, go and do it."
I think that's a very interesting thing you just said. To be fair, I think
that is that. Well, actually, from what you've just said, that's just triggered exactly the moment I realized that I wasn't going to compete, and I think I just ruled it out because I knew at that point that my standard was, if I competed in pole, I'd have to compete at a professional level, and I was not at that standard at that point in time.
I think it's like, it's a big one in the industry that we lose so many instructors competing, and then we lose people competing that would actually be really fabulous at competing at their level.
Yeah,
because they're instructing. Although what you just said is, like, you feel like you should compete now. I feel like it's an individual journey for everyone. And then, so when I competed, when I joined pole, when I started pole, I always said I'm never competing because I'd had years of that with gymnastics and I didn't want that environment. To be fair, it's a very different thing. Everyone has their own things when they compete. My instructor Leanne, just as an option, would love to compete, but she does an invert, so she's like, oh no, it's not for me. I think there are comps out there that offer that, but if you are more into the fitness side of things, then 100% it is restrictive of where you can go. When I first competed, I remember I didn't really know much about the industry. I entered an advanced level competition I was teaching, and someone said, oh, you need to do professional. And the panic set in. I was like, oh my God, I'm not professional level, I'm not professional.
Yes.
My first competition was awful. There's no video. I've hid it. I think Donna Tedroll found it once. I forgot my routine and did a fucking forward roll across the stage.
Jeez. Listen,
I just remember being like, and I joked before I went on stage. Kim was like, what are you going to do if you forget your routine? And I was like, I'll do a forward roll. And as I was doing a forward roll, I was kind of like, oh God, it's happening. And then I stood up as well, looked over to her in the audience, went in the middle of my routine, and then carried. It was awful. It was awful.
You learned from this, though, right? It's a learning curve.
Yes, that is the thing I was saying. Like, that was year one of competing. And that taught me a massive lesson that actually you don't need to be the most advanced pole dancer to compete. My girl Amy that competes, she's just done Polar and she's just done British GB, Great British Pole Championships.
Yeah,
she won her category in both, and every time she competes, she messages me. She's like, "Oh my God, this person's so much bendier than me. Oh my God, that person can deadlift. I can't do that." I'm like, it's not about what tricks you put in and what level of stuff you can put in. It's about how well you can put this together, structure a routine, and do what you do well. So I think that's a big misconception with that, with competing.
Yeah, always. And it really was at that point in time. I knew, I was like, there's no way that I can go against these people that are competing. Back in 2017, there's no way. So I'd always ruled it out. And then actually, when I start to look at who's winning competitions, and I look at their level and I think, well, I'm actually on par with their level. Like, I'm on par with these people. And then I think, like,
quite surprised me that you don't think you're that, like, if you don't think you're ready to commit, because, like, looking through your stuff, I was like, damn girl, you strong.
Thanks, babes. And I loved being, I do love being on stage. I've danced on, I used to do sort of competitions with school. at like, I don't know if you ever had Rock Challenge, or if you ever heard of Rock Challenge. Have you ever heard of it before? It's like done through colleges and school, and all the schools would come together and compete, and you like in front of big audiences, and like
Like a dance one?
it was like a almost similar bit, like, yeah, each school competed, and it would be like a 3 to 6 minute routine. It was huge.
Okay.
And you know, any time that I've been on stage and I've performed, like I've done, because this is the thing, I thought to myself, like, this is it, I'm not going to compete, I'm going to focus on performing, and maybe I'll just do that, because I can perform, and I love performing and doing stuff like that, so there's no reason why I wouldn't like competing. I would love it. But then when I've gone to start it, I thought, right, I'm going to give it a go, mate. I was like, right, I'm going to start with the song. Tried to find a song, and I'm like, I'm done. I can't. I don't even know. And so I can't even get over that first hurdle, because there's so much that goes into it, isn't there? And like, I'm like, I don't even know where to start. But I am going to seriously look at it. But anyways, back to your competition. So you've created this competition for instructors at any level, then, across the board.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So basically, we wanted to have categories that were strictly beginner, intermediate, advanced.
Nice categories.
Performance, sorry.
They're good categories.
Yeah, we've got
when you start to get into semi-pro, pro, advanced, it's like,
but actually we've tried to keep it from that. So we've got semi-pro in the industry. I think when people hear like pro, expert, they're like, oh god, I'm not an expert. And like, I think it's more to do with you've competed before, or you have more time to do this because it's your job, supposedly. But for me, that's absolute crap, because if you run a studio, you've got less time to train than the little semi-pros that are bashing out Fonji 360s. So we went with the structure. We wanted it to be as inclusive to all genres as we could. So we went with a performance category. We went with low flow category. So actually nothing above a climb. So they do low flow base work, and heels are included in those two categories, but not in the fitness side, because I personally find it very hard to think of how you would compare an exotic style routine or heels based routine compared to someone doing Fonjis and Phoenixes.
They're worlds apart.
So yeah, to me, like, there's no, if that person was doing Fonjis and Phoenixes in heels, fair enough, it's comparable. And if not, like, damn, you're doing that in heels. But if they're completely different styles, I want to try and keep that separate.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so we went for those, and then we've got what we've called the expert category, but we're actually thinking we're going to rename it to experienced category, advanced experienced. So everyone who is in the first 5 categories can have competed but could not have placed first, second or third in the competition in the last 3 years, because we want to encourage people who have been put off competing and feel like they've not been the right level, or they've not had the right experience. Plus, if you have placed first, second or third in the competition as an instructor, you would have done that at semi-pro, pro or instructor level. And what we're trying to do is create a safe space, a space where people feel they can enter at their true level and actually have like a chance to build up their comp experience.
That is amazing.
So the experienced level is for people who have competed and have placed before, so no one's excluded from the comp. So, you know, the only competitions that excludes is professional development competitions such as UK PPC, Miss Pole Dance UK, those sorts of ones. So I feel like if you are brave enough to enter those competitions at those levels, then you don't need to be entering specialist competition. You can enter a number of mainstream competitions that are available to you.
That is brilliant. That's great. When I saw it, I was like, I have looked into it. Well, just in general, you know, when you guys sort of released everything, I was like, oh, this looks really, really interesting. So that sounds great. I think I might share that little snippet on Instagram of this pod of you talking about it, because I think just exposing and just give it, you know, because people are frightened. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time and I'm frightened. Yeah. And I'm not scared to say that.
It's a very nerve-wracking thing, because you put so much time and effort, and you do put like a lot of love and personal, you know, like personality into a routine, you are going on stage to bear a part of your soul or a part of what you're passionate about to other people.
Yeah.
And you're literally being judged on that. It's one of your biggest human fears.
Yeah.
Like,
and then getting the feedback. Ooh.
And getting feedback on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think competing is it's not for everyone, I must admit. I've my first competition, I must admit, I was in my head a lot and I read my feedback and I was a bit like, what the hell, sort of thing. Like, you've got to be able to take that feedback on board. But at the same time, like, I always say, if you are competing, for me, when I judge, the biggest thing I look for is people that look like they're actually enjoying what they're doing.
Having fun.
Yeah, having fun with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a hard one to try and take that pressure off yourself. So we want to try and create, even if it's just a bit easier for people to not have that pressure of, oh my God, I'm against this person that's won 4 or 5 competitions and has...
It's a good stepping stone, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. That's what we want it to be, a stepping stone for instructors within the industry, to be like, build confidence, be like, okay, cool. Maybe one day I can enter UKPPC. Maybe I can enter Miss Pole Dance. Maybe, screw it, I can just go and do the advanced the instructor category at Solent next year. It's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. You guys have done such a great job.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing it and seeing how it all sort of pans out. So, yeah, you've done
I'm
amazing.
hoping we're going to get an entry video from you now, Becky.
Oh, don't. I find this so difficult, and so I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Do you know what? I've spoke to Vanessa Bagg about this. I've spoken to Jay Benslem. I've spoken to everyone that I've done a pod with, and everyone has been so kind and said to me, like, Ness said to me, like, just reach out, just text me, like, just like message people in the industry, because I've got no one down south that can, like, you guys up north, and I say up north.
North. I love that we're classes up north in Solihull.
You're all up north. You guys like are so close to each other. You can like train with each other, and I don't have anyone like that down south. So, you know, it's really difficult for me to feel like I've got anybody to turn to. So that, I think, is another big thing too. But that shouldn't stop me, I know. But like but then everyone that I've spoken to have said, like, just reach out, just text. You know, this, and like the more I do these pods and like speak to people, like the more I'm like, Polish should meet up more. Because we're all so like-minded, we all like share a passion, love to do what we do, like meeting new people and just like making friends within the industry, like, is so much fun.
The biggest thing I did when I started pole, I went to every workshop going, every workshop going. I think if they've been to the UK, I've learned from them. Even when I was in America, I would go and have lessons with people and Zoom privates, although I don't actually do too well with Zoom privates. And just going out to all the events and meeting people, physically meeting people, connecting with everyone I've connected with on Instagram, just going up to them and just being like, hey, I added you on Instagram, we're friends now. Just chatting away to people and being like, and it's great because now I feel like I've got friends all over the world that if I want advice, I can just drop them a message and be like, hey, you'll know about this. It's surreal. It's actually really surreal. I remember I used to watch people and be like, the first pole dancer I ever watched was Lindsay Lyth. I just remember thinking, oh my God, she's so amazing. And then I literally was that annoying person that went up to her at pole. It was in Las Vegas. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, you sent me this really lovely message and blah, blah, blah. She's one of my really good friends now. And it's just like you kind of forget that human element to a lot of people. But
this is it. Like, just
together.
Yeah, just reach out. And like when people message me on Instagram, right, and I respond back, like, and people are like, oh my God, thank you so much for responding, like, thank you for taking the time. I'm like, well, I'm just a human. I'm just like, of course I will. Like reach out. And like, I say to people all the time, reach out, DM me. Like, you know, you can do, apart from the people that hop into my DMs and say, can you do a tutorial of rainbow?
Oh yeah, no, I'm like,
no, I'm like, no, babes, like, can you not, like, you can see my Instagram, like, you see what I'm about. It's very clear what my style is, by the way, and what I'm about. Like, there is no rainbow in sight, or, you know, so I know I can't do a tutorial on that. I'm sorry to let you down, but no. But yeah, you are right.
Tutorials and a lot of stuff. I think it's like specialist things that when people message you and they're like, hi, so have you got a video of you doing this move? And I'm like, it's on my Instagram. And they're like, okay, can you break that down? And I'm like, no. Like, if you want it broken down properly, I think there's like a fine line. But yeah, like advice and stuff like that, I'll always give people the best advice I can.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, well, this has been amazing, by the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry, I've chatted so much.
No, don't be silly. Don't be sorry at all. Like, people, you know, it's just a natural conversation and just chatting about what we love. And it's been really insightful and you've been brilliant. Thank you so much.
No problem. It was lovely to meet you. Thank you for having me on the podcast.